Good morning, students. Welcome back to biology class once again. Today we will be dealing with the kingdom fungi. Last class we have studied about kingdom Monera and kingdom Protista. So today we will be studying about the kingdom fungi. Okay. So here, kingdom fungi. The study of fungi. Okay. The study of fungi is called mycology. It is derived from two words, mycos, which means mushroom, okay, and locos, which means to study. So the study of this fungi is called mycology. Here we will deal with the characteristics of fungi, okay. The salient features or the characteristics of fungi is important, and then the classification of fungi. So we will be studying about the characteristics of fungi and the classification, okay. So first characteristic, we have unique kingdom of heterotrophic organism. It means fungi are not able to produce their own food. So the mode of nutrition is heterotrophic. They depend on other organisms for their food. Okay, and they are cosmopolitan. Cosmopolitan means they are omnipresent, which means they are found everywhere. Fungi are found everywhere, and they grow in warm and humid places. For example, we have the bread mold, orange rods, mushroom, toadstools. All these are examples of fungi. Okay, please remember the examples also. And white spots on mustard leaves are due to parasitic fungus. So these are, white spot is the disease, okay, that is found on mustard leaf, that is due to parasitic fungus. Fungi, it can be both useful and harmful, okay. Some fungi are the source of antibiotics. That means they are useful in making antibiotics from fungi, penicillium, okay. And some unicellular fungi such as yeast, they are also used in preparation of bread and beer. And other fungi, whereas some fungi, they cause harmful effect on plants and animals, okay, causing disease. So for example, we have the wheat rust causing Puccinia, okay. This is a kind of disease. Now when we look into the structure of fungi, okay, most of the fungi are filamentous. That means they have, the body structure is filamentous except for yeast, okay. The body consists of a long, slender, thread-like structure, and this thread-like structure we call it as hyphae, okay. This thread-like structure is called hyphae, and when this hyphae, they form a network, okay. And when the hyphae form a network, we call it as mycelium, okay. Please remember the word hyphae and mycelium. Hyphae is a single strand thread-like structure called hyphae, okay, and network of hyphae, it forms the mycelium. Clear? Hyphae is of two types, okay. We have two types of hyphae: conocytic hyphae and septate hyphae. Conocytic hyphae, it is also known as a septep, okay, a septep. Why? Because there is no septum, absence of septum or wall, okay. There is no wall or septum there, and there are numerous nucleus associated in one area, okay. In one area you will find many nuclei in conocytic hyphae. That is why we call it as multinucleate, okay. They are continuous tubes filled with multinucleate cytoplasm. That means there is no septum or wall, and then numerous nuclei are found here. Septate hyphae, there is a wall-like structure, okay. That is why we call them as septate. Septum is present in septate, okay. And in each septum there is a nucleus. There forms a wall-like structure, and in each chamber, under each room, there is a single nucleus, okay. So we call them as septate hyphae. And septate hyphae, it is also further classified into simple pore and polyporous pore, okay. This is not in your content book, but this is just for information. Simple pore, it is found in organisms like Ascomycetes, and Doliporous septa is found in Pesiomycetes, okay. So the next characteristic is fungal cell wall is made of chitin and polysaccharides. So the cell wall of each fungi is made of polysaccharides and chitin, and the food is stored in the form of oil or glycogen in fungi, okay, clear? Okay, now let us look into the mode of nutrition again. Like I've said, the mode of nutrition in fungi is heterotrophic. That means they cannot prepare their own food and depend on other organisms. So this heterotrophic is also divided into three types. Okay, the mode of nutrition is heterotrophic and is divided into three types: saprophytic, parasitic, and symbiotic. Okay, most fungi are saprophytic. That means they depend on dead and decaying organisms for their food. They absorb soluble organic matter from dead substances. Okay, and some are parasites, which means they require a host for the survival. They live on other plants and animals. Okay, here the host gets harmed. Okay, and the parasite, they derive benefit. So most of the fungi, okay, they derive benefit from the host. And some live as symbiont. Symbiont means an association where both the organism derive benefit from one another. Okay, we call that as symbionts or symbiosis, symbiotic. So some fungi they live as symbiont. Okay, and they show an association called symbiotic association. So this is an association where both the organisms derive benefit from one another. Okay, examples we have here: lichen. In lichen, it is an association of both fungi and algae. Okay, and we also have mycorrhiza. That means mycorrhiza, it is an association between fungi and roots of higher plants. Okay, so you may also expect question like, what is symbiotic association? Okay, so it is like an association between two organisms which both the organisms derive benefit from one another. Now we have reproduction. Okay, reproduction in fungi, it is carried out in three processes: vegetative propagation, asexual reproduction, and sexual reproduction. Okay, even in vegetative propagation, it is divided into three types. We have the fragmentation, fission, and budding. Okay, in asexual reproduction, we have the conotia, sporangiospores, and zoospores. Whereas in sexual reproduction, we have the oospores, ascospores, and basidiospores. So let us look in the detail one after the other. First, we have the vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation, it is carried out by three ways, that is the fragmentation, fission, and budding. Okay, first let us see the fragmentation. Here in fragmentation, it means small fragments of the plant body. Okay, plant body, that is the hyphae. Small fragments of the hyphae, it will give rise to a new organism. Okay, and these are found in fungi such as rhizobus. Example, we have the rhizobus, mucor, or penicillin. Okay, all these fungi, they undergo fragmentation and they give rise to new organism. So fragmentation is small fragments of the body giving rise to a new individual. And the example, we have rhizobus, mucor, or penicillin. And when we look into fission, okay, fission is fission means splitting, right? So splitting of the cells into two daughter cells, we call it as fission. Example, it can be seen in yeast, where one mother cell produces two daughter cells through cytokinesis. So that is about fission. And the next we have the budding. Budding is seen even in yeast. So here the mother cell will produce a small outgrowth, and the outgrowth will detach itself to form a new individual again. Okay, we find this in fungi yeast or Ustolica. Okay, so these are some of the examples of fungi which shows budding. In budding, a small outgrowth will detach itself to form a mature new individual. Okay, so this is about the vegetative propagation. Next, we have the asexual reproduction, and here in asexual reproduction, it is done through the spores, okay, and through mitotic division. So when the spores are involved and there is mitotic division, we also call them as mitotic spores or mitospores. Okay, and here there are three types. Three types are produced, that is the conotia, sporangiospores, and zoospores. So let us look into conotia first. Here in conotia, the organisms here are non-motile. Okay, they cannot move, and since they cannot move, there is absence of flagella. No flagella is present. Okay, and the wall is thin. They are thin-walled. They produce over conotiophore. Okay, for example, we have the fungi or aspergillus. Okay, and since it is produced outside, we also call them as exogenous. Okay, exogenous. The spores are mainly produced over the conotiophore, that is the upper part of the penicillium body, and hence it is called exogenous. Okay, since it is found on the outside of the body, we call it as exogenous. Next, we have the sporangiospores. Here, the sporangiospores, they are also non-motile, like the conotia. That means they cannot move, and they are also thin wall. Okay, thin wall, and the spores are produced under the body. Okay, under the body, that means they are endogenous. In conotia, since it was produced outside the body, we call it exogenous, whereas in sporangium, since it is produced inside the body, we call it as endogenous. Okay, and the sporangium will burst, and that is how the spores, okay, the spores, it helps in reproduction. Next, we have the zoospores. The zoospores are different from conotia and sporangiospores. Here, the zoospores are motile, that means they can move. And when they can move, that means there is presence of cilia or flagella. Okay, here the zoospores are motile, they can move, and flagella is present. Flagella is present in zoospore, and they are thin wall and uninucleate. Okay, and if there is one flagella, we call them as uniflagellate, and when there is presence of two flagella, we call them as biflagellate. So last type of reproduction is the sexual reproduction. Here, sexual reproduction, it occurs in three steps. We have the plasmochemy, karyochemy, and the meiosis. Here, plasmochemy, it means union of two protoplasm. Okay, when there is fusion of protoplasm of two motile or non-motile organism, gamete, they form together, and it is called plasmochemy. Okay, union of two protoplasm. Whereas in karyochemy, it is a fusion of two nuclei. Okay, it leads to the fusion of two nuclei to form the zygote, and the zygote formed in karyochemy is diploid. Okay, and meiosis in zygote, it will always result in haploid spores. So when two haploid hyphae come together and fuse, okay, in sexual reproduction, two haploid hyphae will come together and fuse, and this fusion will immediately result in diploid cells. Here, haploid is a N, okay, it is represented by N. So when two haploid N plus N, they fuse together, it will result in diploid 2N. Okay, and this type can be found in ascomycetes and basidiomycetes. Okay, N plus N is equal to 2 nuclei per cell occurs, and such a condition is also called dikaryon. Okay, and later the parental nuclei fused and the cell becomes a diploid. So that is how sexual reproduction occurs in fungi.